Good morning, brand DIYers. It is Mark here, and a new show all about connecting with your tribe. And hold on, wait a minute, there we go. All about connecting with your tribe in a meaningful way. I want to invite everybody to come and participate in these sessions because it makes it all a whole lot livelier if I am not the only one blabbing the whole time. And I'd like to hear as much from you as well you might want to hear from me. So if you are listening and you are aboard, come on into the conversation. I want to talk to you about how you connect with your tribe. While we're waiting for folks to sign in, though, let's get started. This is a topic that actually came to mind again last week because I brought aboard a new client, and this client is asking me to figure out how they should position their brand. And again, I get put in the position where I say, well, you can afford to be what I call a lazy marketer. That's one of my favorite terms. You can be a lazy marketer because you don't have to invent all these things. You don't have to figure out how to position your brand. You can let your tribe do it for you. And invariably, people say, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And this brings me to, how do you actually communicate with the people who love you? And how do you connect with your tribe? Now, a lot of people are fairly timid about connecting with your tribe, their tribe rather, because it's kind of weird. You're talking to people about something that you've created and that they may or may not like as much as you do, and you might be setting yourself up for some uncomfortable conversations if they don't like it as much as you, or if they think that you've got to fix a few things about it. So yeah, you're exposing yourself a little bit, but it is extremely worthwhile. Now, I also believe there's a deeper reason why folks are uncomfortable about connecting with their tribe. And this comes to a very deep-seated psychological predisposition that we have as marketers and founders of companies. Let me explain. Uh, until not even until the internet, but until social media, it wasn't that easy to figure out what people were thinking. You had to pay a lot for it to get research and focus groups. But more than that, before the internet, it was a lot harder to make stuff. And it cost a lot of money to make stuff. I worked for some of the biggest packaged goods companies in the world. I know this from experience, that it costs millions upon millions to get a product to market. And so what invariably happened, here's how it worked. Somebody would come up with an idea for a new product, and they would test that product a little bit with focus groups, or they would test to see what focus groups preferred in a product. But it was all very esoteric. It wasn't studying stuff on the ground so much as it was asking people questions. And forgive me if I'm being unfair, if you've had a different experience. It's all of us go through it in a different way, but this was my experience. And so they would test, and then they would commit to building, and it cost millions of dollars to formulate the stuff. Say if it's a bottle, a cleaning liquid, to formulate the liquid inside the bottle, and then it costs millions of dollars to formulate the bottle, to figure out what the bottle looks like. It costs millions of dollars to get it on grocery store shelves, because every grocery store wants a little something on the side to put the product on their shelf, even if it is all official, but it is kind of something on the side. So the companies that created the product would be committed for millions of dollars. And what they did then, they took a factory approach to selling the product. And you can understand why, because they said, hey, my steak, I call the shots, you're the consumer, you just consume. And that's the way it worked. I call it a factory approach. In the factory approach, there is a product being manufactured. Nobody disputes the product. The people who work in the factory are just there to work in the factory producing the product. There's one boss, and the boss says what the values of the company are, what the story of the company is, what the positioning of the product is, etc., etc. So it's a very command and control type situation. It's the factory approach to marketing. Now, way back at the beginning of this little chat, I said the internet came along and changed everything, and more particularly social media. But let's talk about the internet first. The internet effectively upended the factory model of production. Now, instead of spending millions of dollars to create a product, a person could look around the world at similar products being produced, could find a formulation for, again, let's use cleaning liquid, find a formulation for cleaning liquid that's already being produced somewhere else in the world, could find bottles that are already being produced somewhere else in the world that are unique in our market. We haven't seen them, but somebody else may have in Asia or Europe. And they could just combine those two things, stick them together. Oh, and the grocery store, don't worry about it. Don't need to sell through grocery stores. It can sell online. So now this person could create, because all they're doing is sticking stuff together in a new way, could create a product without really investing very much money. Oh, wait, no, they don't have to invest any money at all. Let's go one step further. Because this person doesn't have to buy the cleaning liquid. They don't have to buy the bottles. They don't have to even put it on a grocery store shelf. Or even put it online to sell. They could design a CAD drawing of the product and give it the product attributes and virtues and stories and values and see if there's interest in the market. So basically, it's the equivalent of trying on one fishing lure after another until you find one that the people want. And then you say, that's the fishing lure I'm going to go with. Total investment, pretty close to zero. Now, remember way back at the beginning of this chat, I was saying the other thing that has changed is how we communicate with people. Now, it used to be that the factory owner who was producing the product and who called the shots would put the product on the market. And what we would use as far as marketing goes is what we call the megaphone approach. And that is, I would yell through my megaphone, buy this product, buy this product. I would put it on as many channels as possible, and there weren't that many channels back then. I would put it on as many channels as possible, and eventually I would beat you into submission where you just said, stop yelling about your product. I'll buy this stupid thing already. All right? It was very military in its approach. We would beat the opposition, the consumer, into submission until they agreed to buy our product. All right, I'm being overly simplistic here, but that's kind of the way it was. It was the megaphone approach. Fast forward to today. Now, we're in the scenario, just to refresh your memory, we're in a scenario where I haven't invested a nickel in producing a product. I have done a CAD drawing of it. I've done a 3D rendering of it. I've given it its story, its values, its selling proposition. I've put it out there to see if anybody bites. And I've got this magical tool called social media, and I can get instant feedback on a product. Now, this is kind of cool because this has now gone from a megaphone model to a tribal model of putting a product out in the market. And that is, I can float an idea at a rhetorical sort of bonfire, and I can see all the people sitting around the bonfire with me. They're not the target market. They're not the consumer. Their business is not to consume. Their business is not to consume. Their business is to belong to my tribe. Now, you can see there is a problem here because a factory owner probably isn't very interested in building a tribe. A factory owner is interested in keeping the shareholders happy and making their numbers and going home on a Friday and having a nice holiday. However, the new type of entrepreneur says, you know, what I want to do, I understand that my product, I just took two products that already existed and smushed them together in a new way. I'm just trying things out here. I understand that the differentiation in my brand is not my product, because if I can smush two things together, so can everybody else. Fact is, probably have already. So my only differentiator is in the personality of my product. in the values of my product, in the brand of my product, in my story of how I came up with this, the problem I faced, the solution I created, how it worked out for me, and what sort of people I'm appealing to, my story. Now, the entrepreneur today understands this. What they understand too is that they have to create a certain, what I call resonance. And the movement I'm making is when you have one sort of surface and it's vibrating, it creates a pulse and a rhythm and a noise. And if you put another surface, it will resonate at the same speed, oscillation, whatever you want to call it. That is the equivalent of a new entrepreneur talking to potential tribe members. If they say, you know what, I like what you're saying, they're in simpatico. If they're going, no, I don't really agree, I'm not your kind of person, I don't really see things the way you do, they're not resonating with what the entrepreneur is saying. So it's extremely important that you find a tribe and you put a message out that resonates with them. But remember, you're not putting a message out with a megaphone, you're putting it out with a bonfire. What happens at a bonfire? One person is not in charge of the message. The message goes out and it gets chatted about, and people talk about it and they feed back and they say, I like this, I don't like this. Hey, what about this idea? What about that idea? And the smart entrepreneur today is connecting with their tribe by not thinking of themselves as the owner of a factory, but as the leader of a tribe. So what is a tribe? A tribe needs only a few things. They need a charismatic leader who has an idea that they strongly believe in. You need other people, the tribe members, who also believe in that idea and are interested in following and helping. And you need a way to communicate amongst yourselves. And that latter part is what I want to finish off on today. How do you communicate with your tribe? Now, a lot of folks that I talk to believe that you should be communicating with your tribe using all the wonderful social media tools that we have at our disposal. And I wholeheartedly endorse that. There has never been a better time for communicating with people. You can put a message out there, you can get their feedback on it, you can start a conversation, you can see what they're up to with hashtags, you can figure out what's trending, and you can plunk yourself right in the conversation and figure out if people like what you have to say or not. However, I'm kind of old school. And the problem with social media is the fundamental problem that we used to have with focus groups, that we had with online polling. And that is, you don't really get to know people. I'm a big believer in sitting down and having a coffee with people. Yeah, you can't have a coffee with 10,000 people like you could on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. You might only be able to have coffee with 10 or 20 people. However, what's so valid about this is that you can actually physically say, hey, I'm like you, you're like me. Do you want to join my tribe? And what you can do, you can give these folks an active role in your tribe. I do this all the time with my clients. What we do, we don't bring on people, consumers, and say, hey, do you like this? Would you like to consume it? We say, hey, we notice you're doing something really cool there. We see that you're using a product like mine, or we see that you're using our product as part of this really cool activity that you're doing. Could you tell us more about that really cool activity? Do you hear the difference? It isn't, we see you're consuming our product. What do you like our product? What should you improve on it? What don't you like? We're saying, we see that you're doing something really cool. We see that our product is part of that. How could we help you? Very, very different tone. Hey, Barbara, thanks very much for the comment. If you want to come aboard, you want to talk about building your community. I think you're probably a pretty good case study in this. So it's a very, very different conversation. It's not saying, hey, what do you like about our product? What do you like about our product? Very narcissistic way of looking at the world. It's, hey, what are you up to over there? Oh, that looks cool. What? You're using our product? Oh, that's cool. Why don't we hang out a little bit? So that is what I do with people in a very, very simple situation. I just sit down, have coffee with them and say, hey, I noticed that you're using the product. What are you doing with it? That's interesting. I wonder I wonder if you could help me make the product better so that it works better for you. Oh, now you can see why way back at the beginning of this conversation, we're talking about the factory approach where people would invest millions of dollars. They would put a product on the market. If consumers didn't bite on it, they just upped the assault with more and more media spend to make that product work. Now, with virtually zero media spend, what we're seeing is that people can go out there and say, hey, what do you like about the product? Huh, how about that? How are you using it? Huh, do you think that you could actually help me fix the product a little bit? What's missing? I need some help with this. And suddenly what you've done, your tribe member is no longer a passive consumer. They are an active participant in your company. Now, I'm working right now on an EdTech product, an educational technology product called eGlass. And using one of these tribal members, an education influencer and consultant and former principal, teacher, district head, very, very smart group of people and person at the head, we are actually developing a whole new software package for the product that we could never have imagined had we not been talking to our tribe and asking them, what would you fix about this? What's wrong with it? What are we doing that's not right? If you were the boss of the tribe, what would you do? That's actually how we talk to these folks. So there you go. That is what I do. And I think it helps everyone to talk to consumers, but don't talk to them in that narcissistic way that makes a lot of us very uncomfortable. What do you like about the product? What else do you like about the product? Don't talk about it like that. Say, hey, I see you're using it or you're using something like it. How do you use it? Where would you like to find it? What would you change about it? Would you like to help us change it? Huh, that's interesting. So there you go. Any B2B services examples? You like what you're hearing? Susan Chambers. The only B2B services example is that I'm working right now with a company that is doing presentation skills for CEOs, and they're branching into a new service, which is a service product for courses and forums for people to craft their own speeches. And what the brief was there was, we have a very loyal tribe who come to us to craft their presentations and speeches, mostly CEOs. Now, how do we know that that brand will carry over into a brand that is online courses for people who want to create their own presentations? And that is exactly what we're doing. We're going out there, we're talking to people, mostly people who are already customers of the speech writing or the presentation skills product. And we're saying, if you had another product, what would it be? What would you like? If we created a product that was online courses, is it something that you would buy? Oh, it isn't something you'd buy. Oh, well, what might you buy then? Is there something different? Or could you recommend anybody who might buy this product? And then we ask them to name a few folks and we call them up and we do the same thing all over. If we're lucky, we'll find some people who are passionate about this type of a product and say, would you like to help us design it? So there you go. Hey, Ryan says, why do you find that most marketers are scared to go outside and talk to their tribe? How to get these people to feel confident enough to embody and talk their brand in person? I think what most people don't understand, and I have seen this again and again and again. By the way, that's an excellent question, a question I get all the time. I don't feel comfortable going out and asking folks, why don't we just do an online poll and then hide behind our headphones and just get back down to our typing? First of all, I think that the way we work today is socially regressive. We are sliding into our cocoons, which is a very bad place to be because it isolates us from the world. Now, Ryan, I know you're not isolated from the world. You're definitely an outgoing person and you have no fear of going out and chatting with people. However, I think if folks are afraid to chat with people, they have to be reminded that most people are dying to help. Most people, if you call them up and say, I'd like to talk to you for 10 minutes about our product, they go, screw you. I don't want to talk about your product. But if they say, hey, I'm with this company and we're looking at fixing the product and we want to make it better. And you know what? We're out of ideas. Do you want to have a little session with us and talk about ideas? Wait a minute. Doritos, Ford Motor Company, Budweiser is asking me about how to fix Budweiser? Holy. Suddenly, I'm going to go way up in the elevation of my friends. I'm going to have bragging rights. Hey, guess what I did last week, guys? I talked to Budweiser about how to fix their beer. No way. How do I help? That's the reaction of most people. Most people, if you approach them the right way and not, I'd like to ask you 10 quick questions about our product. People hate that. Ask them about fixing the product, and people will engage enthusiastically. Most brand managers have to have that in their brain, that people would really like to talk about how they can help, not just have you grab my brain and bleed it dry and then leave me. Nobody likes that. So I think most folks, if they get that in their head, that most people love to help, and they try it once or twice and they see how enthusiastic the audience or the person on the other end of the phone is, they'll go, that was easy, that was fun, and I learned stuff I never would have learned before. And this is back to my concept of being the lazy marketer. You know, be the lazy marketer. You don't have to come up with the ideas. Just go out there and go, hey guys, you got any ideas for me? People will come out of the woodwork and say, yeah, nobody ever asked me for ideas. How nice of you. Barbara says, everyone is tech exhausted. We need to use tech in a way that doesn't drain folks. You have to engage people in a way that's uplifting and engaging about them, not you. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I also think that as marketers, one of our biggest problems is that we're happy to sit behind our computer screen with our headphones on. I'm guilty. I do it. And we put out online polls and we put out LinkedIn questions. Hey, which of these 5 things would you prefer? I'd prefer it if you just shut up and not give me more polls on LinkedIn, because I know that's just clickbait. And it's transparent, and it's lame, and it's evil. Go out and talk to people, get out on the street, and just find out what's on people's minds. Oh, by the way, closing thought, because we're at time now. Closing thought, I've started something that you might want to think about trying because it has been very enthusiastically received. Because I, like many of you, are now in my home office. It's a real nice office. Don't get me wrong, it's great in here, but you know what I'm finding is I'm talking to the dog and the dog is talking back, and it's getting to the point now where the dog is winning a lot of the arguments. So I got to get outside. So what I've done, I've set myself the goal, and I do it every Friday for an hour, hour and a half. I go out for beers with somebody new, somebody that I know from my work life, whether it's a client or an ex-client or one of my colleagues, my contractors, my helpers, one of my team members. And I just hang out for a beer for an hour and a half. And the talk invariably goes from family and kids and what you're doing on the weekend to shop. And invariably, I come back with 2 or 3 ideas on how to fix my business and make it better. And I hope I leave them with the same 2 or 3 thoughts on how to make their business better. There you go. That's connecting with your tribe in a way that I like to do over beer. So I hope that this has been helpful for folks. If it has been helpful, tell all your friends to join our tribe and come check out these videos. I'm putting them on once a week now. I'm connecting them with a blog post that I write, and I hope they're helpful. Spread them around, and I really appreciate everybody coming on in and sounding off. I think it's great that you guys are giving me ideas to talk about, because nobody wants to just listen to me. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great Wednesday.